Young banker was making money hand over fist. He was doing great. He was climbing the corporate ladder. Bought himself a Rolex watch, a BMW. He was driving it fast on a curvy road in Southern California. And he whipped around the curve, and there was a rock in the middle of the road, and it caused him to swerve. He did a flip, but luckily he had a seatbelt on. But he was teetering on the edge of the cliff. The paramedics were called when another car came by and saw what was happening. The paramedics got there just in time to get him out of the car before the car went over the cliff and smashed and blew up. He was coming to, and he said, "Where's my car? Where's my car?" And they said, "We're sorry, sir. Your car fell to the bottom of the cliff and blew up." He said, "Oh, that was my BMW. That was my BMW. I just bought that thing. It was brand new. It only had 1,000 miles on it." They said, "Look, we've got some worse news for you. When we were pulling you out of the car, we couldn't get your left arm unhooked from the seatbelt because it got tangled up and had to amputate your left arm." He said, "My left arm? Are you sure my left?" They said, "Yeah, it was your left arm." He said, "Oh, no, it's terrible. That was the hand my Rolex was on." Sometimes we get our priorities mixed up, don't we? And maybe didn't even think about his arm, but he's all worried about that little piece of metal on the end of that arm. It cost him something $15,000 or so, and he was missing the big picture. Sometimes we do that. We get caught up with how much this job's going to pay us, and how much more we can make if we do this, and how much if we save this much money we can do. And sometimes we miss the big spiritual picture, don't we? The fact that this world is not our home, we're just passing through. The fact that Jesus Christ himself told us not to lay up treasures on this earth, but to lay up treasures in heaven, because where our treasure is, there will our heart be also. And so what we're going to look at this particular series is that giving is a proof of your love. I want you to turn your Bible to Luke chapter 12. And you're going to see what I mean when I say giving is a proof of your love. Luke chapter 12. You'll probably recognize the story. There's a guy that comes to Jesus. And he thinks since Jesus is the teacher, then Jesus is going to step in and help him out with his family problem. And his family problem is that he and his brother are fighting over the inheritance. And he says, "Jesus, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." And Jesus said to him, "Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of things that he possesses." Then he spoke a parable and he said, now I want you to listen to this parable closely. "The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And the man says within himself, 'What shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops?' So he said, 'I'll do this. I'll pull down my barns and build greater, and there I will store all my crops and my goods. And I'll say to my soul, you have many crops, goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will these things be which you have provided? So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God.'" The man was thinking about retiring, wasn't he? That's what he was doing. He had lived a life of prosperity. His barns couldn't hold his stuff anymore. And he was thinking he was going to get out of farming and go into relaxing. And he had all of this stuff laid up. And he said, if I store that up, if I save it, then for the later years of my life, I won't have to work. I won't have to bring money in. I'll just use that stuff. But now, when I say it's a proof of your love, I want you to read this passage again with me. And listen closely to this man talk. Okay? Notice. "And he thought within himself, saying, 'What shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops?' So he said, 'I will do this. I will pull down my barns, and there I will store my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many years, many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.'" Who's he thinking about? I, me, mine. Who does this man love? Himself. And you can see that with where he puts his money. Now here's what I want us to understand. Where you put your money shows who and what you love. You understand that? All right. Now let me take you back to an Old Testament passage that'll help us understand that even further. Go to the book of Haggai. Haggai's not long. It's about 2 chapters. Right after Zephaniah. I know you're real familiar with that. Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. It's one of the last 3. You could call them the big 3, but they're really kind of little. So, Haggai, it's just a couple chapters. But Haggai's audience has a real problem with what they're doing with money. And I think this really relates to us, and you're going to see why. Look at verse 2. We'll start there. Thus speaks the Lord. Now, hold on right there. Why does Haggai start out with thus speaks the Lord? Because I want you to know it's not opinion. This is not Haggai's good advice to you on how to invest your money. This is God's instructions to you about your soul and how that relates to money. Okay? Thus speaks the Lord. This people says, the time has not yet come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. Now notice what's supposed to be going on. They're supposed to be building a temple. Now if you were to ask them, should you build a temple? Do you know what their answer would be? Yes. Their answer to should we build a temple is yes. When should you build a temple? What's their answer to when? Not yet. You ever seen somebody that says, you know, I'm going to really give and take care of the Lord's house in our New Testament covenant, that would be the church. I'm really going to help out poor people and help out the church when I have a better job. I'm really going to give and help out when I get inheritance from my parents because they're going to give me some, or they're older and they're going to pass away. I'm really going to give when I retire, and then I don't have so much that I have to give out. That's what I'm going to do. You know, hardly anybody says, no, giving is a terrible idea, I'm not doing it. They say, I'm going to give, just not right now. I'm going to give when I pay my house off, when we get this credit card bill down, when I had a couple, and I don't know if I was preaching on this or we were just in passing. They said, you know what, we just can't give it all. Right now we've got so much credit card debt. But when we get rid of our credit card debt, we're really going to start giving. The problem with that was, guess what they were still doing with the credit card? Well, yeah, so they're still using their credit card, and when they get done with that credit card, I assure you, I'm going to do it. Well, now we tell ourselves, hey, we'll do this later. It's a great idea. We all know it's a good idea to give generously, liberally, and cheerfully, but we'll do it later. Okay, but now hold on. Let's look at your priorities. No, notice what God says here. Then the word of the Lord came to Haggai, verse 3, the prophet, saying, is it time for you yourselves to dwell in paneled houses, and this temple to lie in ruins? Thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your wife. He says, okay, you don't think it's time to give to the Lord's church. You don't think it's time to build a temple. You think it's a great idea, but you just don't think it's time. Okay, what's your house look like? Oh, your house it's not just a place to live. It's a beautiful paneled house. It's got wood paneling, and you are busy making improvements to your house, but you don't think it's time to even put up a wall of the temple? Now, let's apply this to United States, 21st century middle class. Do you know the percentage of a person's income, generally speaking, on average, that people spend on their house in the United States middle class? 25%. They spend about, counting your mortgage and counting all the stuff that goes into your house, most people spend 25% of their entire income for their house. Do you know what most people give? Most people give less than 2 to 4%. Now, if you were just to take God's instructions here, and He's saying, okay, are your houses important? Yes. Build a house. But after you've done what? After you've worked on the temple. Now, God cares that you have a place to live, but these people weren't just having a place to live. These people were putting down new marble tile, and these people were putting up wooden paneling, and these people were taking care of all their own stuff before they were giving to God. And now let's look what God says is going to happen to these people. He says, are you happy with that? How's it working for you? Notice He says, consider your ways. Do you guys feel like at the end of the month you're doing great? You feel like you're at a financial point where you're real satisfied with what's going on? Do you know that people who don't give liberally and cheerfully, regardless of how much they make, are never satisfied with what they've got? Now watch what God says to these people in Haggai. You've sown much, but you bring in little. You eat, but you don't have enough. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe yourself, but nobody's warm. And he earns wages to put into a bag with holes in it. Now, is he saying they're putting their money in an actual bag with holes in it? No, he's saying at the end of the month, what's going on, guys? Are y'all feeling satisfied and happy with yourself? No, because at the end of the month, when you're paying, you're checking, making sure your house is taken care of, and your livestock and everything else, and you're not building the temple, guess what? You're not happy and you're not satisfied. You know the solution to this? It's real easy. Put the Lord's temple first. I'm not saying stop building your house. I'm saying put more attention to the Lord's temple than you put to your house. And then see what happens. Thus says the Lord, consider your ways, go up to the mountains, bring wood, build a temple that I may take pleasure in it. Look, you looked for much, but indeed it's come to little, and when you brought it home, I blew it away. Why, says the Lord? Because of my house that is in ruins, while every one of you runs to his own house. Now, there are a couple ideas. Now, don't get me wrong. But there are a couple of ideas. I want you to turn your Bibles over to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. There are a couple of what I would call American financial ideas that do not find their place in the Bible. I want you to look at Matthew chapter 6, brother. I want you to look at verse 19. And remember our story about the guy who was saying, I will do this with my stuff, and I will do this and build my money. All right. Look in verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust don't corrupt and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Now we have adopted the idea that, you know what, if we spend 25% of our income on our house and we save 15 to 18% for retirement, then whatever's left out of that we give, and that is okay if we only give 4 to 5% because, hey, you've got to have a house and retire. Where from the Bible does that idea come from? When God right here is saying, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy. Now, is he saying don't ever save any money? No. He's saying the number one aspect of your financial life should be giving. Yeah, but God, we got to have a house. Okay, go back to Haggai. What were they putting before God? Their house. Now, did they need shelter? Yeah. Did it need to have wood paneling? Did it need to have ceramic tile? Did the truck that needs to get you from your house to work, does it need to be a 2016? And do you really need that new gun? You already got 3 of them. And do you need that new dress that you're going to put in your closet, and then on Sunday morning you're still going to go in there for 20 minutes and think, what do I have to wear today? I mean, do you really need that? Now here's what the Bible is saying. Okay, if it says don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, and there's a person who says, yeah, but I'm going to save 15% or 20% for retirement so that when I can be 65 years old, then I'll have money to do. What was the guy in Luke 12 doing? That's exactly what he was doing. Now, notice, God doesn't get onto him for saving for retirement. He gets onto him for not giving first. And that not being his primary idea and goal. So, what I'm thinking we need to do is take a step back when we look at our finances and say, okay, I spend this much on my house. I spend this much on dog food. I spend this much on vacation every year. I spend this much. How much do I give? Do you know if you give less than you spend on vacation, you've got a spiritual problem? And that's a legitimate statement. If you spend more on dog food than you give to God, you got a real spiritual problem. What do your finances say about who you love? Let me show you what I mean by that. Go in your Bible to 2 Corinthians chapter 8. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Would anybody accuse you of loving God based on what they see from your checkbook? 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Now, let me give you a little background. Some of you probably know this story. Paul had sent around to the churches that weren't in Jerusalem and said, hey, big famine coming to Jerusalem, and they're going to need a lot of money. They're going to need a lot of stuff because they're going to starve to death. So he went around to the congregation where he preached and said, will you give some money? And the Corinthians apparently had said, yes, we'll give a certain amount of money. And so he sends, notice, verse 23, if anyone inquires about Titus, he's my partner and fellow worker concerning you, or if our brethren are inquired about, they are messengers of the churches, the glory of Christ. Therefore show to them and before the churches the proof of your love and our boasting on your behalf. They said, yeah, we'll give you this much money. He said, I'm sending Titus to you to make sure you got the money. And what does he call that money that they got? The proof of their love. Now, you guys know this, as plain as I'm standing up here, that where you put your money proves what you love. Can you imagine? You got a man and a wife, and the wife, let's say it's a few years ago, and she has seen that there is a thing, a machine you can buy, and that machine will wash and dry your clothes. You can get a washer, you can get a dryer, and she is still scrubbing those clothes on an old washboard, and she is hanging them outside on a line, and she goes to her husband and she says, hey, I have seen this awesome machine. It will wash your clothes, and there's this other machine that will dry your clothes. Can we get it? And he says, yeah, absolutely. We'll get us a washing machine, dryer. We'll get one of those. Eventually, when we have the money, sure will. Well, so it goes on a few months, and the husband comes in and says, hey, honey, guess what I got? He said, I just found us a perfect place to deer hunt. It's right outside of town. It's not very far. About 20 minutes. All I got to do is put down about $500 on it, and I'll get to deer hunting on it for the next 10 years or so. And I'm going to do that because, boy, we can get a lot of good stuff going on deer hunting, and it's really exciting. And she says, oh, that's nice. And she's thinking in the back of her mind, yeah, good, but I wash and dry clothes every day. Well, so she goes on another year or so. The husband comes in, he says, oh, guess what I've just found? I just found a tractor, and this tractor, it's going to make my life so much easier, and I'm going to be able to do so much more work with it, and I'll get to ride instead of walk behind that mule. This tractor is going to be perfect. I'm going to buy me this $3,000 tractor. And she says, that's nice. What about our washer and dryer? He says, oh, when we get that, we'll get that for sure. Well, about 3 or 4 more years through, and he comes home and says, oh, you know what, I got, let's say 10 years or so. Come on, work with me on the time frame here. He says, well, I just got me a four-wheeler. He said, I got me a four-wheeler, and that'll get us around on this property a lot better. That'll help me and the kids hunt more deer. And he just goes on and he buys himself a four-wheeler, and then he upgrades to the John Deere Gator or whatever it is. And then he expands, he gets the property right next to him so they can have that done. And all this time, that wife has just been asking for and wanting a washing machine and a dryer, and she's never gotten one. Now, what is he showing his wife? He's showing her that he doesn't love her. No matter what he says, no matter if he comes home and says, boy, I sure do love you, sure am. He is not putting his money where his mouth is. Folks, if somebody right now took your checkbook from you, or whatever it is that you do to keep up with your money, and said, I'm going to ask myself if this person loves God, do you know they can prove or disprove that by what you do with your money? Now, the brother that I so appreciated your comments this morning on the Lord's Supper and on love and on how you can give your body to be burned, and if you don't have love, it profits nothing. That's true. You can give every dime you have, and if you don't have love, it's not doing you any good. But you can give without loving. Do you know the rest of that statement? But you can't. It's impossible to love without giving. Oh yeah, you might give it for the wrong motivation, but if you love somebody, you will always give it. So, here's the question. Not do you say you love God. Hey, I had a guy that sat outside of my office in Montgomery, Alabama. He was a homeless guy. He and his teenage friends sitting outside on the table eating lunch one time. I went out there and talked to him, and I got to know him pretty good, so it's probably about the third time I'd eaten lunch with him. They're telling a joke, and this one guy says about 4 cuss words. About the worst cuss word you can think of, and it's one joke. So I'm sitting there listening, and I say, hey, you know one of these days you're going to go in front of God and you're going to give an account of every cuss word you've ever said. He said, oh, what joke you're talking about? I said, yeah, you just cussed 4 or 5 times in that one joke. He said, oh, God knows we love him. Okay, well, James chapter 1, verse 26 says, if anyone thinks he's religious but doesn't bridle his tongue, his religion is useless. Okay, you can't say a cuss word, you can't say a joke with 4 cuss words in it, and in the next sentence say, God knows we love him. You can't spend 25% on your house and save 20% and spend another 5% on recreation and spend another 5% on this and that and get to the end of your month and give God 2% and then look God in the face and act like you love him. Because you don't. Doesn't matter what you say. Your actions show you don't. Now, why? Why does God care about your money? He doesn't. He doesn't care one bit about the piece of, it's not in paper. I was just up at the, what's the name of the place in Washington, D.C. where they print your money? What is it? Well, no, it's not the treasure. It's like printing and, it's called printing and something. Printing and minting or something like that. Yeah, we had the 8th grade trip up there and they were rolling out all this money. There was a big humongous pile, a big stack on a pallet. And they had a little written sign that said $1.5 million in $5 bills. It was something else. Well, that money's not paper. It's 80% cotton and 20% linen is what that is. So when you wash it, that's why it doesn't rip and get in all the little pieces like your kid's test grade that he did put in his pocket. The money doesn't because it's cotton and linen. Now, anyway, does God care about a piece of cotton and linen in the plate? Never has. He doesn't need your money. Do you know he could take the most generous liberal giver right now and he could providentially direct that person to oil in Texas. And he could have in the works another $5 billion to do what he wants done. He doesn't need your money. He doesn't care that you give your money necessarily. You know why he asked you to give? Because you need to give. It's not that he's getting something out of it. It's not, oh, couldn't have done it without so-and-so's $10. Glad they put that in there. You need to give it. If you were to go to Philippians chapter 4, you look in verse 17, here's what you find. Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that abounds to your account. I don't need your money. I'll tell you what you do, though. You need to give it. You ever had a 3-year-old ask you to help make cookies? I got a little daughter, loves to bake. She's actually great at it now. Now she's 12. She's been baking her whole life, all 12 years of it, starting probably when she was 1 and all on through. Every time we would be in the kitchen, she would want to bake. Now, do you know why you let a 3-year-old girl help you bake cookies? Because you need the help. Because they're so very helpful at that age. You know exactly what I mean. Okay. You have put out the butter. If you know much about your cooking, baking, you got to put out, make it, you got to get softer, right? Now, butter is ingeniously packaged so that if you know what you're doing, even with it being soft, you can take the edges and undo the top and give it a little, you got to kind of follow through on it, but if you give it a little flip down, that butter will just roll straight down off of the little paper. It's wax paper, designed not to hold the butter on there. It'll roll right off, and you'll have your whole stick there, right? 3-year-olds think that the texture is nice. And so instead of flipping it down, they pick it up and squeeze it. And they like the feel of it. And so they twist. And then when they open it, they then try to use their fingers to put it in. Okay, by now you know what the measurement of butter is in stick form. In smushed finger form with this number right here, you don't know what the measurement is. Okay, so then, you put, and you know the next ingredient, with cookies, chocolate chip cookies, next ingredient is sugar, because you got to boil your, egg. You ever seen a 3-year-old crack an egg? Okay, you say, I'll do this one. Please let me, okay. You give them the egg. All right. Somebody getting shell in their cookies. You can't get it out. It's not coming out anymore. Okay, so now you've got half shell, half egg. You've got who knows how much butter, and then the sugar. And they think everything's got to go in their mouth. Everything. Now, when I got the flour out, I would say to my daughter, look, flour doesn't taste, it's got no taste. You really don't need to pinch that and put it, especially if you're about to use those fingers to get the butter. You don't need to do that. Okay, but they do. They want to try the flour and the butter, and if you don't stop on the egg and everything else. And then at the end, you have cookies with shell, not enough butter, and far too few chocolate chips, because when they tasted those, they realized, oh, these taste good by themselves. And you let her help because you needed the help. No. Because she needed to be a part of the family process. She needed to feel like she was doing something. And when she takes that plate of cookies and takes them to Daddy and says, hey, Daddy, look what me and Mama made. She gets to feel like she is productive in the family. Now, God doesn't need your money. He can do everything He's doing without your money. He doesn't need you $20 in the plate. He doesn't need you $2,000 in the plate. And the fact that you put in $2,000 and someone's over here who makes far less than you puts in 20 doesn't matter. Because it's not about the money. It's about the fact that He's letting you be a part of His process. Masters Golf. They're in, where, Georgia? Augusta. They pass membership in that down from generation to generation. There are very strict rules about what you have to do to keep your membership there. You have to dress in a certain way. You have to behave in a certain way. At the end of every year, there's no fee other than they divide all the costs. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, and they send it out to as many members as they have. They divide it by how many members, and they send out, this is what it costs this year, and you pay it without asking any questions, and send it in if you want to keep your membership. Do you know what they do when they kick you out? They don't officially kick you out, if I understand correctly. They don't call you and say you violated the rules, you messed up, you're no longer a member. They don't let you pay your part. Wow. They don't let you have a part in the process. They say, you know what? No, you didn't live up to whatever standard we got. We're not going to let you pay us this year. You know what God does? He always lets you have a part in His Word. Look, we're taking the gospel to lost souls, and God could do it Himself, but He lets you have a part of it. Now, does your money indicate that you love God? It's like little Susie. Little Susie went to the store. She found a set of plastic pearls. She looked at them and they were $3. She had $1. She thought they were the greatest looking little pearl necklace she'd ever seen. And she went to her mom and she said, Mom, I've got to have these pearls. Her mom said, well, how much are they? Susie said, well, they're $1. They're $3, but all I've got's $1. And her mom said, oh, well, I'll tell you what, if you'll do extra chores and work at home, I'll buy them for you and you can pay me back. So she buys them for little Susie, and little Susie puts those pearls on, and they are the greatest, most wonderful set of pearls she's ever seen. She wears them everywhere. The only time she takes them off is at night when she's going to sleep or when she gets in the tub. And right when she gets out and dries off, she puts them back. Right when she wakes up the next morning, she wears them so much that it wears that little white paint off, and you can see the kind of clear plastic. But it doesn't phase her. She just keeps them going. She loves them. Wears them every day. Well, one evening, her dad's sitting in the chair, and he calls her up and says, Susie, how you doing? She comes, sits in his lap. He says, doing great, Dad. She's wearing a pearl. He said, school going well for you? She said, yeah, doing great. He said, Susie, do you love me? She said, yeah, Dad, you know I love you. He said, okay, will you give me your pearl? Her little face just fell. She said, Dad, my pearls? He said, yeah, I want them. Will you give them to me? She said, you can have anything but my pearls. You can say, my favorite baby doll. You can have any toy I got except my pearls. He says, okay. Kisses her and puts her down. Well, a week goes by. He calls her up to the chair in the evening. Says, Susie, how are things going? He talks about school. And he says, Susie, do you love me? She said, Dad, you know I love you. He says, can I have your pearls? Mary Jane, her little face just fell. She said, "No, my pearls, Dad, I wear these every day. I love these pearls. This is my favorite toy or necklace or anything I've ever had." He said, "Okay." Gives her, puts her. Well, about, I don't know, 3 nights later, she comes in and her little knuckles are just white and gripping because she's got those pearls in her hand. She comes in and she climbs up in her dad's lap and tears. She's just crying. This is her favorite set of pearls. She don't know why her dad would ask. But she said, "Dad, you know, you asked me if I love you, and you've asked me to give you my pearls." She said, "I don't know why, but here they are." And she gives them to her dad. Boy, a big smile comes across his face, and he gives her a big hug, and he said, "Thanks, Susie. I really did want those pearls. Because I want to give you this." And he reaches down on the side of that chair, and he opens a purple jewelry box, and there is a set of the most gorgeous, gorgeous real pearls Susie has ever seen. And he said, "I want to see how long you hang on to those plastic fake pearls instead of letting me give you these real ones." Isn't that what we do? When we hang on to that money and we buy ourselves a new car or put it in a bigger house, and God is just saying, "Why don't you give it to me so I can give you real blessings? I'm just waiting to see if you will put your money where your mouth is and love me like I asked you to, because you need to be a part of what I'm doing, and I will bless you with real blessings." So the question to us this afternoon is, will we let God bless us with so many blessings that we don't have room to hold? If you're here, there's a good chance you're a Christian, because most of us wouldn't stay after the meal if we weren't, and that's a fact. But it might be that you've never named the name of Jesus Christ. You've never put on Christ in baptism. You've never been added to the Lord's church by God Himself. And there's a chance for you to do that. Will you respond to the physical invitation of becoming a Christian? But now I'd also like to ask you this. Rarely have I seen it once or twice. I've seen a person come up and they've said, "I'm coming. I'm greedy, I'm stingy. The decisions I've made in my life have been for me. The money that I've spent has been on myself. I haven't given God like I should, and I'm sorry about that on the change." You know, in the course of my preaching, I've only said it 1 or 2 times. You think that's because it's only 1 or 2 people in the audiences that have been guilty of that? Probably not. But I'll tell you what I have seen. I've seen a lot of people listen to this lesson, go home, change the way they financially live, and come up to me 2 months, 2 years later, and say, "Kyle, let me tell you what happened. I listened to what you said. I saw what God was saying about giving. I changed my life, and I never knew what a blessing it would be." Maybe you're not going to come up this afternoon. Maybe you're not going to come forward. Maybe not confess any kind of sin that you got, but maybe you'll make a decision to change the way you deal with money so that your life can change for the better today. And remember the words of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ when He said, "It's more blessed to give than to receive." If you need to respond to the Lord's invitation, I hope you will, as we stand and as we sing.